Good Tuesday morning, manna gatherers. Here in the U.S., it is election day. And today and the days following, more now than ever, it seems we need these words we have from Ecclesiastes 9, 17, and 18, from King Solomon. Yes, King Solomon, a man with many faults and failures, but a wise man considered wise and remembered for his wisdom all these thousands of years later. So again, today, like we were yesterday, and this whole week, we will be in Ecclesiastes 9, 17, and 18. The quiet words of the wise are more effective than the ranting of a king of fools. Wisdom is better than warheads, but one hot head can ruin the good earth. Before these two verses, Solomon tells a parable of a foolish yet strong king and a foolish city dwellers, and a poor, also in this city of foolish dwellers, a poor wise man. To paraphrase this parable for you from a couple of the verses in Ecclesiastes 9, we hear in just two of these summary verses, there was a little city with a few, and sometimes the translations say little men, a few men within it. And there came a great king against it and besieged it and built great bulwarks against it. Now there was found in the city a poor wise man, and he by his wisdom delivered this city. Yet no man remembered, or some translations say that no man of the city listened to him, this same poor yet wise man. That's the whole parable. And then at the end of Ecclesiastes 9, we have these two verses. The quiet words of the wise are more effective than the ranting of a king of fools. Wisdom is better than warheads, but one hothead can ruin the good earth. So in the context of what Solomon has been writing about throughout Ecclesiastes, this is another example from King Solomon of what he calls vanity. There is such the potential for good, but good, it seems to Solomon, as he says over and over, good seems to be always triumphed by evil again and again. Vanity for Solomon is not the same definition we would use today. Vanity for Solomon was more like emptiness, meaninglessness, futility, or hopelessness even. Like when we ask the question, why do bad things happen to good people? Those questions are questions of theodicy. Where is this God who is called good, who is called loving, who is called omnipresent? Where is this God in this fallen and dark and cold world where evil seems to triumph over all the good that is here? Why does evil always seem to have the upper strong hand? Solomon had questions and doubts and times of hopelessness like we all do from time to time. And those times for Solomon are recorded here in Ecclesiastes, in which he says several times over and over throughout Ecclesiastes that all things are vanity, all things are empty, meaningless, futile, hopeless, since the same fate comes to all, to the righteous and to the wicked, to the good and to the evil, to the clean and the unclean, to those who sacrifice and those who do not sacrifice, to the God followers and those who choose not to follow God. In essence, Solomon asks, why do we even try? Why do we even try to do good? Why even follow God when nothing seems to make a difference? Have you ever asked that? Have you ever been where King Solomon is as he writes these words? These words in Ecclesiastes are a confession of an exhausted man who has tried to bring peace and unity through wisdom, not warheads. And he has failed, both as a king, but also as an individual, constantly living that tension within himself to be a wise person and not a foolish hothead. Life can feel this way sometimes, but here's our message for today. That should not stop us from trying to be a voice of wisdom in a city, in a crowd, in a mob of overwhelming hotheads, of ranting fools. The poor, yet the wise man in that small city in the parable in Ecclesiastes 9 spoke up, and he spoke out when he could have easily kept quiet, when he could have easily thrown his hands up and given up, feeling utterly hopeless. However, he was persistent. And for a time, people seemed to listen long enough to be delivered, even if after their victory, after their deliverance, these people, this city, did not listen, and the wise words of this poor man were forgotten. Solomon's wise words are not forgotten. They live on, and they live on to encourage us to be, to speak, to move through life, to behave with wisdom and not warheads, with quiet patience that seeks to understand, not loud clanging that strives to overpower, to silence and to control. To strive, however, with the good of all in mind, not for merely selfish gains. This is the encouragement from Solomon. It can be frustrating to be like that poor wise man in a city whose voice seemed to be drowned out by the hot-headed fools. But that did not stop him from trying to speak wisdom to these fools. For a time, the poor wise man did have success. There was deliverance. I wonder, however, if his wisdom and words would have lived on if others had joined him. For it is also Solomon who writes in Ecclesiastes 4 that two are better than one. What if that one poor wise man wasn't left on his own to speak wisdom into the cacophony of foolish hotheads? It is exhausting to be a lone voice of wisdom in a foolish world where no one seems to be listening. So here's our two takeaways for today. Don't be afraid. Don't be deterred from being that wise voice our world needs to hear from, especially when it seems that the way of wisdom is getting you in this crazy world nowhere. It isn't. Your wisdom will have the deliverance we need, but be persistent. 2, find and join with others who believe that the quiet words of the wise are more effective than the ranting of king of fools. Wisdom is better than warheads, but one hothead can ruin the earth. Be persistent and don't go it alone. Those are our words for today on Tuesday, November 3rd. I will see you tomorrow on November 4th.